Lewis Hamilton on pole for Ferrari, Verstappen uncomfortable, Leclerc in the shadows, McLaren lost, and a Brazilian rookie outpacing the veterans. You're not watching a 2021 flashback. This is now. And what the drivers revealed after sprint qualifying in China might change everything you think you know about the 2025 season. Stay with us until the end, because some of these comments were so honest or so awkward, they could shift the dynamics behind the scenes in the paddock. Hamilton summed it all up in one sentence. "I didn't know when we get to this position." And you can't blame him. After a shaky start to the season with Ferrari and a tough weekend in Australia, no one expected the Scuderia to put a car on pole, especially with Hamilton behind the wheel. But he did. Calm and clinical, the seven-time world champion delivered a 1:30.849 at the end of SQ3 that left the paddock stunned. Even Hamilton looked surprised with the lap. And just like that, when became now. This pole isn't just symbolic. It's a clear message. Hamilton is still in the game, and Ferrari, despite the missteps, can produce a competitive car. At least over one lap. The big question, will this speed hold up over race distance? Max was blunt. "I don't think we should have even been on the front row today." That comment is almost a relief for Red Bull fans. After looking dominant early in the year, Verstappen has been fighting the car all weekend in China. He admitted the pace was there, but the team's choice to go for 2 flying laps in SQ3 might not have been the best call. And here's the key point. For the first time in a while, Red Bull looked reactive rather than dominant. And when Max finds himself starting second and speaking in that tone, you can tell he's more frustrated than he lets on. Charles Leclerc was honest. "I had the same issues as last year in turns 1, 2, and 3. Lewis was just quicker today. Simple, direct, and clearly frustrating." Leclerc looked ready to fight for pole, but was always a step behind Hamilton. That's a concern. Ferrari needs to understand why Leclerc is still struggling with the same weaknesses at circuits like Shanghai. But more importantly, Hamilton already asserting dominance within the team, so early in the project could shake the dynamic inside Ferrari. If Leclerc wants to stay in charge, he'll need to hit back quickly. Norris didn't sugarcoat it. "We just weren't quick enough." And Piastri followed up. "On the soft tires, the car was really tough to drive. There was no grip." Two drivers who were tipped as contenders this weekend have made it clear. McLaren didn't get it right. The team looked strong in practice. But when it mattered, both drivers were fighting the car more than their rivals. The truth? McLaren has pace, but the window of performance is too narrow. If the setup isn't perfect, it all unravels. And for a car that won in Australia, P5 and P6 in Shanghai is a step back. It's a warning. To stay in the title fight, they'll need consistency, not just flashes of brilliance. Russell pointed out the erratic performance from lap to lap. "I was outside the top 10, then suddenly second, but I didn't do anything different." That's not a good sign. When a driver doesn't understand what worked and what didn't, something in the setup or tire window is out of sync. Antonelli was more reserved, but quietly confident that he's adapting and improving with each run. Mercedes looks like they're in the hunt, but still not sharp enough to mount a real challenge yet. The potential is there. They just need to unlock it consistently. P14 might not look special at first glance, but let's put it into context. Gabriel Bortoleto, driving a Sauber, out-qualified Hülkenberg, Lawson, and even Sainz. That's no small feat. He admitted it was a tight session, but said he felt much more comfortable than in Melbourne. And that matters. When a driver feels progress, the results tend to follow. It's becoming clear. Give Bortoleto a bit of machinery to work with, and he'll deliver. And if things keep going this way, Q3 appearances might not be far off. Sprint qualifying in Shanghai proved that the field is tighter than ever. Hamilton dealt a huge psychological blow with that pole. Verstappen knows he needs to adapt. Fast. McLaren can't afford misfires on key weekends. And Ferrari may have found a new team leader. The best part? All of this happened on a Friday. The weekend is just getting started. If you enjoyed this content, leave a like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Paddock Insider. Because if Friday gave us this much drama, just imagine what Sunday has in store. Hamilton's on top, Verstappen's rattled, and the championship is starting to boil. Lewis Hamilton genuinely couldn't believe what had just happened. When his race engineer Riccardo Adami told him over the radio that he had set the fastest time in sprint qualifying in Shanghai, the Brits' reaction was pure laughter and total disbelief. And let's be honest, who saw this Ferrari pole coming? After all the tension over team radio in Australia, this time the audio told a very different story. Hamilton sounded like a kid who had just unwrapped the most unexpected gift. "I'm a bit in shock. I can't believe we got pole in the sprint." And it's easy to understand why. Until SQ2, McLaren looked to have the session under control. Norris and Piastri were leading comfortably, showing strong pace and consistency. But once the soft tires came into play in SQ3, Hamilton pulled a magic lap out of nowhere, putting the red number 44 Ferrari at the top, just 0.018 seconds ahead of Verstappen and 0.080 seconds ahead of Piastri. A razor-thin margin, but enough to stun the paddock. After stepping out of the car, Hamilton didn't hide his pride. Obviously, the last race was a disaster for us. Here, the car came alive from the very first lap. We made some really good changes. The team did a fantastic job between FP1 and qualifying. And credit where it's due, Ferrari responded well to the pressure. It seems like the strategic disaster in Australia triggered something internally. The quick turnaround showed that when the team listens to its drivers and reacts in time, results follow. At 40 years old with 7 titles to his name, Hamilton still wants more. And now he'll have the chance to lead a sprint pack with McLarens and Red Bulls breathing down his neck for 19 laps. I've never won a sprint, and more importantly, I haven't done a proper dry race with Ferrari yet. Yes, you read that right. This will be Hamilton's first dry race with the Scuderia. In Bahrain, things went wrong. In Australia, it rained. Now finally, he'll get to see what the SF25 can do in stable conditions. And let's be honest, there's no better place to start than from the front. We're going to learn. The McLarens are very fast, so is Max. But we're in a good position. Let's stay positive. If Hamilton wins the sprint, he not only breaks his sprint win drought, but puts serious pressure on Verstappen and McLaren heading into Sunday. If Ferrari can keep this pace over race distance, talk of a title fight might actually start sounding real. But hold on, everything's still wide open. One thing is clear, Hamilton's still got it, and now maybe Ferrari's starting to catch up too. If you're loving seeing Hamilton back at the front, leave a like below, drop a comment with your sprint predictions, and subscribe to Paddock Insider so you don't miss a second of this wild Chinese Grand Prix weekend. Because if Friday gave us this kind of drama, imagine what Sunday will deliver. Hamilton leads, Verstappen is chasing, McLaren is hungry, and the season is only just warming up.